Hello everyone, Dr.berkkkaratas. We're here with the last video of the year. On this occasion, I hope everyone has a healthier, more peaceful and happier year in 2019. In this video, we will talk about three things. One of them is NoFap. There is such a movement. I will say a few things about this. The second thing is there a connection between testosterone and ejaculation? The third thing is that we will use a few brief sentences about masturbation and porn addiction. This might take a little while. These three need to be explained together because these are interconnected topics. Now, we all have a set of files. We also have a sexuality file. This file includes what we experience in childhood, our environment, cultural events, and how our parents treated us. The situations at school are influenced by many things. From here, the brain takes in this information, stores it, and ultimately behavior emerges. We call these behaviors results. Masturbation and porn addiction are not a cause but a result. The important thing is to find out the reason for this. Let me explain it this way, related to fever and illness. When you have a fever, the first thing you think is, why did I get a fever? We know that if we treat the illness, then the fever will also disappear on its own. If we find the reason, then porn and masturbation addiction will also disappear on its own. Of course, the goal here in the NoFap movement is this. So they are trying to eliminate the result. But if we don't find the reason, and don't treat it, if we eliminate the result, we're actually just replacing one thing with another. Instead, the brain develops another behavior. This is where we have our problem. Not about activities, medical. It's not about not watching porn or not masturbating and so on. In conclusion, you are facing a medical basis here. If you went to a doctor like a sex therapist or a psychologist, psychiatrist, I would ask about the reason for this instead of focusing on this. Why is this behavior happening? Because if we find the reason for this and ensure that the brain processes it correctly, then this action will disappear on its own. So we can say this: inappropriate and excessive masturbation is not a cause but a result. Our goal is to find the reason, not to treat the result. So if the result is only treated as a result, or actually those who practice NoFap are neither doctors nor scientists, but they have a suggestion like this: but if we just do what they say, then other behaviors will emerge instead. They can really be worse than these. That's why we need to be careful about this issue. Now, this is basically the study they rely on in the NoFap movement. What is this study? This is a study conducted in China, published in China, measuring ejaculation and testosterone levels. Of course, they always talk about the first phase of this study. This study was conducted in 2 phases. Anyway, I haven't seen anyone talk about the second phase. Let me explain it to you briefly. In this study, something like this was done. 28 people were taken. They had an orgasm. Then they were not ejaculated in any way for 8 days. So they didn't ejaculate. They found a testosterone peak on day 7. Testosterone peaks daily. 8th day, 8th day, 8th day, 8th day. It returns to normal over the course of the day. And based on that, they said, look, if you don't ejaculate, your testosterone will increase. But I said this study, it's a 2-phase study. In the second phase, it actually says the exact opposite of what they said. The summary of the study already states this. What did they do in the second phase? This group that didn't ejaculate, meaning the group that didn't ejaculate for 8 days, continued not to ejaculate for another 8 days. They called this group Group 1. The second group, they called it Group 2. In Group 1, they ejaculated at the end of this 8th day. At the end of the day, they ejaculated, and then they didn't ejaculate for another 8 days, and they followed up. And as a result, something very interesting has come up. In the group that didn't ejaculate, there was no testosterone spike again. So they had ejaculated at the beginning, as you remember. 7. A spike occurred, but no more if abstaining continues. Ejaculating on day 8, then abstaining for 8 days caused a spike, whereas at the end of the day, those who ejaculated and then didn't ejaculate for another 8 days also experienced a testosterone spike. So what happened? There was no testosterone spike in those who didn't ejaculate. Let me explain it with numbers in another version. This is the first phase. That's what they keep building on. Yes, they really ejaculated first. As you can see here, a testosterone spike occurred after not ejaculating for 8 days. But in the continuation of the study, in the group that ejaculated, meaning at the end of this 8th day, in the group that ejaculated at the end of the day, they also didn't ejaculate for another 8 days. Again, a testosterone spike occurred. In the group that didn't ejaculate, as you can see, there was no testosterone spike. So this study actually says this. In those who don't ejaculate, there is no testosterone spike. In those who ejaculate, a testosterone spike occurs after 7 days. For this reason, having ejaculation frequency every 7 days might be more physiologically appropriate. We suggest this, but it needs to be proven with larger studies. This is the summary of the study conducted in China. This was the first study they conducted. What was the second study? The second study is as follows. Actually, this study has nothing to do with testosterone measurement. There are two groups here. The first group didn't ejaculate for 3 weeks. Then they looked at what happens during that 60-minute period at home, during ejaculation. In the second group, there were no restrictions on ejaculation. They continued with their normal lives, and then they followed these individuals. During the ejaculation phase, the topic that these NoFappers are discussing is this. When they didn't ejaculate for 3 weeks, look at the filled squares. The black ones represent the testosterone levels of those who hadn't ejaculated for 3 weeks before ejaculation, and these are the testosterone levels of those who continued their normal sexual lives. From here they say that yes, when you don't ejaculate for 3 weeks, look, your testosterone is higher, but medically, statistically, this makes no sense at all. If this were the case, it wouldn't make any sense at all. Statistically, it doesn't have any significance. That's why this study isn't really meant to show that. It's more about what happens in these 60 minutes and whether there's a difference between the two groups. When you look at it, there really is no difference between the two groups in the results of the study. So they are walking from here, but I don't think anything will come of it for them. In the end, it states in the summary section of the study that there is no significant difference in testosterone levels between the two groups. Of course, we are here now. Let me say a few things about testosterone. Then let's wrap it up. Now, this became very clear in 1998. A lot of studies have been done on this, but since this is one of the best studies, I included it. When people ejaculate, they looked at heart rates, hormones, and so on, before and after orgasm. What I'm about to say is medically proven, and these continue in this way. Orgasm temporarily increases heart rate, blood pressure, and adrenaline levels, but these return to normal right after the orgasm ends. Prolactin levels rise during the organ phase and remain elevated for about 30 minutes after orgasm, but then they return to normal. Orgasm temporarily increases heart rate, blood pressure, and adrenaline levels, but these return to normal right after the orgasm ends. Prolactin levels rise during the orgasm phase and remain elevated for about 30 minutes after orgasm, but then they return to normal. It's said that this is how they block adrenaline. In contrast, none of the other hormones, including FSH, growth hormone, endorphins, and testosterone, are significantly affected after orgasm. We know this. In summary, I say the following. Masturbation and porn addiction are a result. What's important is to find the cause and treat it in NoFap. The focus is only on the results. So this is not a very suitable method. Another behavior may emerge. Testosterone levels do not change with orgasm. In fact, they say the exact opposite. If you ejaculate regularly, especially every 7 to 8 days, you catch that testosterone peak on the 7th day, and therefore it's said to be healthier. You catch that testosterone peak of the day, and that's why it's said to be healthier. But in those who do not ejaculate, this testosterone peak does not occur. The idea that those who do not ejaculate have higher testosterone levels compared to those who do is not really accurate, as NoFap advocates claim. Scientifically, at least the scientific data says this. In the future, larger studies will be conducted. Ejaculation may be followed for a longer period of time, so we don't really know what happens after not ejaculating for 6 months. As scientific studies on it are published, I would like to share them with you here. I hope I was able to help. Thank you.